The following is a presentation of Pod Media Works.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Totally Rad Movie Podcast. I am Scott.
Hey, it's Larry.
And we are, again, the Totally Rad Movie Podcast, where we take an epically bad or totally rad movie from the 80s or 90s. I made a rhyme.
I like that.
Yeah, right? And we discuss it for your viewing pleasure. This week, we have a very special movie. It is near and dear to my heart. It's the one that basically gave us the title for this podcast. We have Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I am so happy that we're going to sit down and actually discuss this movie today, Larry, because it's a good one. It's a good one.
It's a very late 80s dude. Excellent bogus movie, right? Like it's got all the 80s surfer catchphrases in it.
Oh yeah, everything that was popular right at the start of the 90s came from this movie. This was the where all those terms came together. This was that nexus point of making it, and it's what made those words cool.
Oh yeah. It's what brought Southern California to Middle America.
Yeah.
So, sure, right? Growing up, what you said, 87? Right? The kids, man, they were wearing their bright neon shirts with rad on it and skateboards and stuff. Totally influenced by Bill and Ted.
Right. Okay, I can tell you for sure. The the sweater along the waist thing, this unnecessary sweater along the waist as a fashion statement.
Yeah.
Ted wearing that I grabbed a sweater and tied it around my waist every time. I was like, I am awesome. I'm going to be like Ted. I never was, but I thought it was wearing the damn sweater like that.
Thank God that trend died. But yes.
To be fair, to this day, sometimes I'm like, I have a sweater. It gets too hot.
I'm pretty sure I've seen you do that, actually.
Around my waist, son.
Yeah. Oh, Manny still does too. Manny's in the chat. What's up?
Oh, hey Manny, what's going on, man? So Larry, I'm gonna put you on the spot again, as I normally do, because I need you to tell the viewers what is the story of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Why is their adventure so excellent?
So this is a rare one. I've actually seen this movie before.
Hooray!
But it's been forever. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, right? They are in high school. They are failing their history class, and there's a big presentation tomorrow, basically when we first meet them. And if they don't get an A+ on this history presentation, they're going to fail.
I mean, they have to ace it, right?
They have to get 100%, man. You gotta just blow the teacher out of the water, apparently, because clearly oral presentations are pretty subjective. So they basically, right, Ted's walking out of the school with a pile of books that I don't know what he's going to do with. But they go back, realize they got to study, but then they get some snacks at the Circle K, and strange things start to happen, man.
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Yeah, Rufuss comes down, meets up with them, and helps them go back in time. That way they can bring back these historical figures that they're learning about in the history class and do the most radical history presentation of all time.
Of all time. It is... It is definitely an epic adventure. We'll put it that way. That is the thing. So I have a little trivia for it. Normally I save this kind of towards the end, but I want to bring it up because you mentioned something about the Circle K here. So, well, you had some trivia about that Circle K actually that I think that you need to share because I'm fairly certain that we've driven by that several times.
I probably have. I didn't I knew parts of this movie were filmed here. Like in Arizona, most specifically the mall scene.
And Waterloo.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I mean, watching it, yeah, of course, like it makes sense now, right? Because we've got a couple water parks. It's actually Gulfland Sunsplash, so it's which is right down the road from both of us, basically. So a whole bunch of the key scenes of this movie were filmed here. The Bill and Ted's houses are here, but that Circle K is over in Tempe, not too far. I had no idea. At some point, I'm going to have to go drive by that Circle K.
Yeah, I think we need to make an adventure to go to the Circle K from the movie.
An excellent adventure?
And make our own excellent adventure to go to it. But I have the factoid, I guess, kind of comes along with that. So, in the scene where we first meet Rufuss and future Bill and Ted, right? They meet at the Circle K there. What's really strange about the scene is it technically, I guess, can't actually happen. Because when the future Bill and Ted land, they come out and they say, Rufuss! And introduce Rufuss to young Bill and Ted, right?
Yeah.
Rufuss never tells them what his name is at any point beyond that point. So basically, Bill and Ted introduce Rufuss to the person, but Rufuss never, there's no opportunity for them to learn his name at another point.
Okay.
He doesn't tell them his name. So how would it have to be like an off-screen thing that he's like, oh yeah, my name actually is Rufuss, by the way.
Yeah.
Like he's introduced by characters that never, the only way they know his name is this loop of like them going back in time or like going forward in time and meeting their past selves, basically.
Totally didn't notice that, but yeah, that's interesting.
So I was like, it blew my mind. I'm like, he never tells them his name, yet they know his name is Rufuss.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite, that was an interesting thing that I noticed. I'm like, that, I was like, I found a continuity error. Watching this as an adult with a analytic eye, I was like, this is amazing. But so the movie is great. I mean, it is literally filled with like one-liners. Like I can tell you, this is one of the, like we talk about quotable movies all the time. This is a heavily quotable movie. Jesus, my phone is going crazy here. Sorry about that, folks. Apparently it now is like, oh, you're live. You should watch your own stream. Yeah, duh. Be one of the 7 viewers that we have on. So let's going through it though. Like, I cannot tell you how many times that, you know, whenever something happens that you think is like ridiculous, that you do the Keanu Reeves, whoa, like from the movie, or the like I said, I quoted earlier, the strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, like, or the Socrates calling it Socrates, man. Like for most of my life, I said Socrates, not knowing that wasn't the right way to say it, but because that was just the funnier way.
How
like,
Bill and Ted said it.
Bill and Ted it is. I do have to laugh that we brought it up though with Jeremy the other week, that the guy who eats the candy bar in Die Hard is Genghis Khan in this movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I forgot. I was like, oh yeah, it's that dude.
Yeah, throwback to episode 10 when we had Jeremy on to talk Die Hard.
Yeah, so let's go through it here, because I want to get kind of your opinion on the way that this thing is. We're not going to do ratings. We'll do that towards the end again, but I want to go through and kind of get your idea. Like, how do you think this kind of held up? Like, not watching it for a long time, coming back now as, you know, we'll say mid to late 30s gentleman watching Bill and Ted's.
Wait a minute. Am I the late 30s?
Let's say we put us in the we're mid-range, right? So, and coming back now, because the last time I saw it, I was probably 15 years younger than I am today.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched this. I was probably a kid, but but again, I vividly remember a whole lot of parts of it. But yeah, it was. I mean, maybe the 90s, maybe, but it was probably when it first came out. I think it holds up pretty good. like some of the special effects are pretty crappy. Like they're not good.
Well, I mean, they're 1989 special.
I know. Well, but like, I mean, like, I don't know. They're not fair, right? Like, some special effects hold up, like Star Wars.
Yeah, that's true.
And stuff. But I mean, just like when they go into the future, those scenes all look really, really bad. Like they didn't spend much on effects at all.
Well, I want to say so Rufuss talks about like, oh, like bowling scores are up and every other scores are down and like all that stuff, right? He talks about this great future. When they go to it, it's just a bunch of people in weird clothes sitting in what appears to be a cave.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know. It's weird.
That's the question I always had with it, is like, this future is really fucking weird. Yeah. Like you think they'd be like, oh, let's do some like flying cars and stuff. I mean, Back to the Future, we had flying cars and things like, and that was
after that.
This was after that. So they could have done like this great future and still shown that like, oh, everyone, there's world peace and all this stuff. But like
the director's imagination of the future was really just dull. Unless like there was no
dudes in a smoky cave.
Yeah, unless there's like no budget for it. I don't know. Like it's kind of weird.
I have a feeling that this was definitely like, I don't have a feeling. I know it was made on kind of like a smaller budget because they didn't think it was going to definitely
it's
do
just
well,
a goofy comedy, man, that ended up making
a goofy comedy that was supposed to be more of like a serious movie, and like not as sci-fi, but still somehow ended up being like throwing like time travel. I guess Bill and Ted started off as like a comedy bit that like the guys that wrote it used to do like on stage, whereas just they'd act like two idiots that would talk about current events. Like how it turned into like this time traveling like adventure, I have no idea. I would love to hear the story of like, where did time travel get added into this equation? But like, it surprisingly works to have two idiots, right? Like
they are failing
history and believe that Joan of Arc was Noah's wife. Yeah. And that Caesar was the dressing guy.
I mean, that joke's still funny. Right? Like basically a Hangover made the same joke when they go to like Caesar's palace. Like it's still funny.
Yeah, the Caesar thing. The who's Joan of Arc? Noah's wife? It's still a funny. That one's still a good
So I do remember, like I was young enough when I saw this movie last. That's why I feel like it had to be 80s. Like I didn't know who any of these people were. I knew who Billy the Kid was, but I didn't really know who Joan of Arc was. I think I knew who Napoleon was.
Well, I think everyone like knew Napoleon and Abe Lincoln.
Yeah, Lincoln, of course. Genghis Khan, whatever. Like, yeah, like he was a warrior dude. But like Socrates, I didn't know who that was or care who that was.
Sigmund Freud. You're like,
yeah, Sigmund Freud.
What child knew who Sigmund Freud is? And he makes a great, like, there's a great comedy scene in it where he's at the police station and he's there. He keeps questioning the guy who's questioning him. And then he's like, tell me about your mother. Like, as a kid, fucking whoosh, but like now as an adult who knows who Sigmund Freud is.
I get it.
I get it. Yeah. That's funny.
Speaking of moms, Night Bodega Manny brings up, is it Bill's mom? Bill's mom is really his stepmom.
It's his,
she's pretty hot.
Yeah, Bill does have a hot stepmom.
But she's only like 3 years older than them.
Yeah, she is. Remember when I asked her to the prom?
Yeah, right? Because they were freshmen when she was a senior.
Yeah. So I love the idea that, Bill's dad married Missy, right? Like, fresh, assumedly right after she probably graduated, like, or so. I love the fact that Missy makes Bill call her mom, though.
Yeah. Even though she's a couple years
3 years older. He's like, hey, Missy. She's like, Mom. Like,
it's kind of weird.
It's the greatest thing ever because it's like, this is the fucking power trip. Like, are you under that you're telling you're we'll say this. You attended school at the same time. You are a peer. You are not.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's funny. Yeah. That was a pretty good. it's pretty good, like small joke, right? Like side joke, and it's reoccurring because they bring it up multiple times.
Right.
Second,
to go along with that too.
Yeah.
At what point, like, is it ever okay that Bill's dad starts hooking up with her in Bill's room while they're in it?
Yeah. That was weird.
That's like the weirdest scene ever. And they call it out because Ted's like, dude, he's totally going at it with your mom in your own room.
Shut up, Ted.
Shut up, Ted. Yeah.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, it's God, it is such a quotable thing. Like there's so many little like tiny little gags that they do that are so it like Napoleon loving fucking water slides.
Yeah.
Like at what like you could tell whoever wrote this was like, all right, we need this. Like, where's Napoleon gonna go? Fucking we're water slide. Yeah. Why would he go there? We're gonna call it Waterloo. Like,
yeah, it's perfect. Right, it's just that subtle little joke that's pretty clever. I read that like the original, like one of the earlier drafts, instead of Napoleon, they went back and got Hitler.
Oh,
that doesn't work.
Yeah,
I can see why they ditched. I can see why they ditched that.
Yeah, so the original draft did have a whole bunch of additional people that were supposed to be in there.
They brought back enough, though, man.
They brought back enough, but apparently the original one had more. They were supposed to bring back some dude from, like, grab one of the random, like, peasants from the medieval times.
Oh, okay.
When they're trying to go get the princesses and they almost get beheaded. Like, they're supposed to grab a random, like, peasant at that point. The caveman was supposed to come with them. Like, they had a couple of other additional ones that were written in, but like this movie ran for what, like an hour and a half, right? Like, we'll say standard late 80s movie time.
Yeah.
There was almost too many people. Like, Abe Lincoln didn't get a whole lot of time. Like, Freud,
that final presentation was like the longest thing ever.
Yeah, where they go through. But okay, we need to talk about the final presentation.
Yes, we do.
Okay. First off, what school had you do a final presentation in front of the whole school? Like,
basically, right? That wasn't just the senior class or just class.
Yeah, it was.
There's a lot of people there watching that presentation.
There's a ton of people watching that presentation in an auditorium. Like, no high school ever did that. No. That they made you do like a.
I mean, I get it, right? They need it to be that grand to explain why Bill and Ted need to bring all these people in,
right?
But you're skipping over like possibly the best quote from this movie happens during those presentations. Scott, you know that San Dimas High School football rules,
right? Things are different, but they're like the same, more moderner, and to be. San Dimas High School football rules. Yeah, the best. See, now to be fair to that guy, that's like every like high school oral presentation. There was one of those guys in every class I ever had through college for the most part. like that was like the most true to life thing.
Hey man, no better way to get the crowd riled up than to scream about sports.
Right. So yeah,
but that was presentation, right? So they bring, right? Bill and Ted have already gone back in time. They got all their historical figures, and then they kind of bring them up one by one to explain about them.
So
like I really don't understand what the point of the report was.
Yeah, so it's like they do this report, but to the honest thing of everybody else, like the teacher, basically what they did is they just went and hired some actors. You know, like at no point
true. Like we know, yeah, you're right. We know because we're the audience. We were along on this excellent adventure. But yeah, that teacher doesn't know. That's like, legit Abraham Lincoln that they went back in time and got.
Yeah, they just like, they just went and got like some impersonators to
it's
go
still
through.
Impressive.
It's still impressive, right?
If you could pull that off. But
yeah, But to get it set up, they could have been like, oh, they just got these people to do all this stuff.
True.
For them.
I had never thought about that. Even the class, like, right, the other students don't know.
Yeah,
they don't know that's Genghis Khan who could come murder them at any second.
And the other thing too is Billy the Kid fires a live round in an auditorium, and then people start clapping. Like he tells put your hands together for them, and no one claps, and he fucking shoots the light, and everyone's like, "All right, yeah." Like
Billy the Kid's in it a lot. Like he's kind of one of the. He might be the main historical figure. He's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, he is definitely the most like. I do like how they call out. They're like, "You are handling the intricacies of time travel most excellently." Like, right.
That too. He's all on board. He's
like, I guess I'm traveling time. All right. Which is also weird because that Billy the Kid, he's pretty old. Didn't the real Billy the Kid die at like 19?
Yeah, I think it's when he was Billy the Kid.
Yeah, and so like I was like, that guy's like clearly 30.
So Manny asks a good question. Right? Did you notice when everyone was going back into the time machine, you see a back door of the phone booth open? No, but that makes sense because you're cramming a whole lot of people in there.
You can't fit that many people in a phone booth, right? No. Like Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter called the thing. It was called the Death Box or something like that because it was so shitty to film in.
Yeah.
So
it's like made for one person.
Yeah, and they shoved like, I mean, at the scene of the movie, half of them are dangling out the side as it's going through time. So
while we're talking about the phone booth, like Ian watched this with me. All right, if you're not familiar with my family, Ian's my son. He had no idea what this was, but I made him watch it with me. And when they show the phone booth, right, and it's when Rufuss comes through it. He's like, wait a minute, what is this? Doctor Who? Like, very observant young man.
Yeah, so I think it's because even at the time, like Doctor Who
was a thing
here.
Right?
It was a thing there in like the UK. It wasn't as popular here then.
No, but it was a thing.
But it was a thing because they wanted it to be a van. I think it was originally written for, but they're like having it as a car is way too close to Back to the Future. We're gonna make it a phone booth, and we were kind of concerned about it being compared to Doctor Who.
Yeah,
but most people in the US that would watch this movie don't know Doctor Who, so they were like,
I was impressed that my kid knew anything about Doctor Who.
Yeah, but, so even at the time, that was a legit like question or concern that they had, and yeah, that was a comparison thing. Yeah. So let's go through. Let's get into it. We have a segment here that we like to talk about because every movie's either has something that we like or something that we really just don't like. The thing that we don't like, we call it the totally bogus moment.
Totally bogus.
In honor of this movie, I wish I should have cut them saying these phrases because they're both in the movie. I need to. We need to cut those. We should have cut those out.
The sequel is Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Right. So so we have the totally bogus moment. Mine is very weird, so I want to start with you, Larry.
Right.
What is your bogus moment for this movie?
We touched on it a little bit, but the future, I guess. Yeah. I don't get. I know that the whole point is Rufuss is going back to help them make sure they get a good grade on this project, but like the whole premise that somehow they're saviors, and they need to stay together and form this band. Like I don't get that whole thing. So just not just the scene in the future where when they go and they meet those guys hanging out in the cave, like just the whole premise of them like needing to stay together to save the future. I don't really like that. You did. Yeah. I mean, I know you needed a purpose, but like,
you had to have a reason for Rufuss come back. But I agree, it is a very weak purpose, and it's not drawn out. Like,
no, it's not really explained. Like you see, like when near the end, like right when they go back and get the girls, and Rufuss is there, and he has them sign that weird digital hologram CD thing. Like whatever. Like it. I get what they were trying to do, but that didn't hold up very well for me, and I didn't enjoy that part.
Didn't. Okay.
How about you, man? What was your
mine is more utterly ridiculous, but it's something I was like that no one would do that. At the Circle K,
yeah,
they walk up. He walks up to a car. He's talking to him. He comes back and he's like, so a lady in the car over there said that Marco Polo was in 1625.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, I told you it's not just a sport. Which random person in a car did you ask that actually knew the dates of Marco Polo?
At the Circle K.
At the Circle K in their little tiny area of San Dimas, California. Like, no person you're going to ask in the parking lot of a store is going to know what fucking year Marco Polo was prevalent.
Probably not, no.
It was that one. More likely you're going to get the next person they ask about the Mongols when the lady's like, I don't know, I just work here. That's a more appropriate response. But the fact that the car knew, this isn't a time before the internet. It's not like he could have pulled up his phone and been like, oh, Marco Polo, like Wikipedia says. That person had to have known that fact.
Dude. Genius, right?
So,
maybe it was like one of those Jeopardy guys who just kind of knows a little bit about everything.
Maybe it was Rufuss in the car. I don't know.
Maybe.
So that was mine. It's really dumb, but it was one of those things.
No, it was good. I like it. You're right. It's kind of goofy and doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and totally unnecessary to the actual plot of the movie.
Right. It was just to make a water polo joke.
Yeah.
Like
the game, right?
Water polo, like the Marco Polo game. Yeah, I told you it's not just a pool game. Yeah. It's the Marco. You made a Marco.
It's just
Polo
to show
joke.
that they're dumb, just like the Joan of Arc was Noah's wife.
Yeah, but you've already nailed that home.
Yeah, you did
with the Caesar and the other one. So, but there are also in every movie moments in which we call. The totally rad moment, the one that we really like.
Like totally rad.
So let's go through here, Larry. What is your totally rad moment?
All right, so this one is very personal to me, but my totally rad moment from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is the mall scene. The whole scene where all the historical figures go to the mall, Mozart's playing on the pianos, Joan of Arc's doing the aerobics. Genghis Khan is destroying all the sporting equipment. Like that whole scene is awesome, right? You take all these people from olden days and throw them in a modern mall and just have them go to town. It was pretty awesome. Icing on the cake. That mall, like we said before, is actually in Phoenix. So I have been to that mall tons of times. It's called Metro Center, and that's actually where me and my wife went on our very first date, which I did not realize. I did not connect those dots until we were watching this movie. I'm like, wait a minute. That's the mall we went to the movies on our very first date. So that location is forever in film history, thanks to Bill and Ted.
The only issue I have with it is they've remodeled that mall a couple of times, and it doesn't look like it anymore. True. I actually like the way it used to look. Back in the day,
Like I went there in the 80s. So like it's so weird to like see it on screen too, because like you said, it's so dated. And but it's one of those weird things, like when my eyes see it, somehow they like remember being there, and it's even though it's changed so much and it's been so many years, it's total like Phoenix nostalgia to me, man.
Yeah. I guess so. So you stole my
sorry.
You stole my
you didn't have a first date there, so
I did not have a first date. So
won.
You got the one up. But that is probably the one of the best parts of the movie.
It's funny,
I mean the end thing is great, where they're kind of going through and doing their presentations, because it's kind of them, like, oh, Joan of Arc is going to do the aerobics back in France, and
and Napoleon loves water parks.
Water parks and the Waterloo,
but
which, by the way,
is good too.
Yeah,
that's kind of part of the mall thing, right? When they're just running loose in San Dimas.
Yeah, like when they're running loose is the best. So I gotta let me go through and think of a different kind of totally rad moment, and I got it. It's the classic bar scene when they go back to first meet Billy the Kid, the first guy.
Oh yeah,
that they're going to collect. They're so enthusiastic. They go in the bar and like, he didn't even card us. It's like, we're gonna have to remember this place. Like, you didn't realize that you just traveled in time to get here.
Yeah, to the 1800s.
To the 1800s, and then they meet Billy Kid. They keep calling him Mr. the Kid, which is the best part. Cheats at poker. There's a big bar fight scene. It's like every comedy 80s movie bar fight scene. It's amazing. At one point, like, a prostitute swings on a rope and hits a guy out a window. Like, it's
ridiculous.
It's a ridiculous fight scene, but it fits the movie so well. I love it. It's a little piece of heaven in that movie.
It was a great Totally Rad moment, dude. Good,
but
good
definitely.
backup.
But to be fair, the mall is probably the best. That's best fair. Scene, with them starting off kind of being like, "Oh, I appreciate this," and then they just everyone just takes over, which is great.
Right, it's awesome.
So cool. That works. So let's get into ratings here, and to go through, because as you know, we always want to give a rating for this movie, but we don't talk about the quality of the movie itself compared to modern day. What we look for is, how well does this movie still entertain, and does it hold up, and is it still fun? And
this movie definitely is fun.
This movie is still fun. So Larry, what is your rating of this movie out of 5? What are you going to give it?
So it was really, really good. I really liked it. Holds up, all that stuff, right? I think I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Again, like, I'd probably give it a 5 out of 5 if like the whole future aspect was a little bit tighter. But I'm gonna go 4 out of 5. So solid movie, definitely enjoyable to watch in 2020.
This is a weird one, because we're actually for a third episode in a row, we are going to
same
ranking 4. For me, it's a little bit different. Yeah, the kind of the premise of why Rufuss goes back in time is a little meh. As much as I love the lingo, it does get kind of old by the end of the movie.
Really?
Like, watching, I was like, I just kind of was like, dude, just fucking talk normal. Like, a couple of times. So it's like, the way that they some of the speech that they have is very, very, we'll say, taxing on a mental state. But yes, but I'll give it a solid 4. It's worth a watch, and I would recommend going anytime, back to it and rewatching, and I'm gonna still look for it. It's on TV every now and then, especially with we'll call it the threequel coming out.
Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't talk about this at all, right? August 2020, Bill and Ted Face the Music is going to be released in theaters. There's going to be a third Bill and Ted movie finally.
So we have a little bit of a lineup, but I'm going to say, coming up on that, probably a week or two before that one, we're going to plan. We're going to do Bogus Journey on this one before we go into number 3. So we'll have been able to cover both.
Yeah, and then we'll have to go see number 3 when it comes out.
Because to be fair, I remember quite a bit of Excellent Adventure, but I remember a lot more of Bogus Journey than I do this one. So I think I'm going to be happy with going through the sequel here soon.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Why not? Get us ready for the new one, man.
Exactly.
Like, it's pretty exciting. They've teased some pictures already. It looks like Bill and Ted have daughters that are in a band or something, and somehow that future that I didn't come to happen.
Right. Like, they didn't write their epic single that united the world.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that all plays out. But yeah, we're only a couple months away. Like, it'll be end of summer, I guess. We got to go.
We're going together. Just as
we'll do an STS Guys review of it too, of the new one. And if you didn't know, Scott and I are also on the STS Guys podcast. It's a weekly pop culture podcast that we record on YouTube every Saturday night, and you can find it anywhere that you listen to podcasts, like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That was me trying to do a segue.
That was a good segue. I was going to wait till you see where all you can find this show first.
Yeah. Well, I know, but I set up the STS Guys. So, like, you can follow the STS Guys. We are on Instagram and Twitter at STS Guys. And then you should follow the Totally Rad Movie Podcast too, because it's totally rad. And we are at Totally Rad Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And you can find out what movie we're going to watch next week and what day we're going to record live. What are we going to watch next?
I was going to say, can I drop it? So,
yeah.
So the story that goes with this. At first, I wanted to watch the Stallone Judge Dredd movie, but Larry came up and was like, "Oh, is that the one with the
with Wesley Snipes?
with Wesley Snipes where they do the Taco Bell commercial?" I was like, "No, that's Demolition Man, and that's the movie that we're watching next week now." So next week it will be 1994's Demolition Man, starring Sandra Bullock, Sylvester Stallone, and Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it, so this will be interesting.
Funny enough, actually, I think Rob Schneider is in both of those movies.
Well, it's Rob Schneider's in everything.
Yeah, back in the day, he was. We will be watching
Demolition Man. 2 weeks, right? The week of, I don't know, sometime in January.
Yeah.
That's why you need to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at TotallyRadPod, and I will tell you exactly what day we're going to be live.
That works. All right. Well, for this episode of the Totally Rad Podcast, I am Scott.
Hey, it's Larry.
And everybody have a good night. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.